Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting edition of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt, the Game Boy, will take you through the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one card at a time. This week we will be continuing to license and looking at another Capcom Disney game. It's The Little Mermaid. As you might expect from a system called the Game Boy, there are not a lot of titles specifically aimed at young girls. Sure, all of the Nintendo consoles and their homegrown IPs are generally gender neutral, not to mention the wealth of games by third parties that can be enjoyed by all. Kids would and continue to buy whatever games they want. I remember my friends having games like Gremlins 2, Centipedes and Star Wars for example, which in my eyes is why video games are so great. They can be enjoyed by everyone. However, it's still an undeniable fact that for what it's worth, there were very few titles aimed specifically at the game girl. Of course, there was Barbie, which wasn't the best game in the world, but what else? Well, not a lot besides games based off of Disney princesses, the first of which was Capcom's The Little Mermaid. Released in 1991 on the NES and ported to the Nintendo Game Boy in 1992, The Little Mermaid was one of the last titles between Capcom and Disney to appear on either system. As it came a full 2 years after the movie's theatrical release, it's hard to say what sparked the game's creation, hence why I see it as Capcom filling a gap in the market for girl-specific properties. I say this for two reasons. First, because the Disney Wiki's description of the game, despite not having a clear source, states the Game Boy version of the game's ad campaign actually crossed out the boy in Game Boy and instead read, "For Game Girls Everywhere." Combine this with the text on the back of the Australian exclusive Little Mermaid Treasure Pack bundle that comes complete with a sea blue Game Boy Pocket, and it states that this console is the ultimate accessory for any little princess. Once you connect these two dots, it's clear to see the angle they were going for with this title. While context is important here, I'd argue the game should speak for itself. The Little Mermaid sees you take control of Ariel, almost at the end of the movie, who must return under the sea to save Atlantis from the evil Ursula. The plot is told in cutscenes and is easy to follow. However, classifying just what type of game this is really isn't as straightforward. The game for the vast majority takes place under the sea, and handles almost like any other platformer would do in an underwater stage. However, Ariel's primary means of self-defense against the terrors of the deep is throwing bubbles at them, who, when trapped in a bubble, can be hauled at other enemies to take them out. A mechanic that clearly takes inspiration from single-screen arcade games such as Bubble Bobble and Snow Bros. However, as the game requires next to no actual jumping on and off of platforms, I'd say The Little Mermaid plays more like a My First Shmup than anything else. Bobbing along through 5 different levels, Ariel must make her way to Ursula's lair, beating up fishies, finding treasures, and beating bosses at the end of each stage. As you can imagine, the difficulty of the title is set at a very low bar, leading to a very short game. On top of the unlimited continue system in display here, the hits Ariel can take are very generous, not to mention that there's a checkpoint halfway through each stage should you die at the level's boss, though these shouldn't really be an issue to your progress either. I beat the game with virtually no deaths in around 20 minutes or so, but it could be beaten in less if I tried harder. Though, to the game's credit, this is mainly due to its tight controls and variety of power-ups that, other than strengthening your attack and fire distance, generally make The Little Mermaid a little bit easier. The level design of this game is pretty straightforward, as are its visuals, with the final boss Ursula herself being perhaps the most visually appealing thing about the entire game. In regards to the music, while there are several pieces to listen to of a generally average standard, the game's title screen features a pretty nice version of Under the Sea to make up for it, as, after all, if you're anything like me, it's all you'd want to hear anyways. In short, while the Game Boy version of The Little Mermaid isn't that bad, it plays a little like a My First Shmup. And while it does have some interesting mechanics, there really isn't enough playtime to explore them to their full potential for the developers or the players alike. While there is nothing inherently bad about The Little Mermaid, short of its reworking of Under the Sea and the final boss, there's not a lot worth seeing either. However, if you do have a Disney-obsessed child, this could be the gateway to Game Boy for them. They should be able to beat it alone with little help from you, so it's probably a good one to pack in for your summer holidays if the little ones want to have a go on your retro games. Just be sure to warn them beforehand they'll have to use buttons, as no amount of swiping or pinching on the screen is gonna matter. And that brings us to the end of another Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, why not check out some more of our Boyographic videos where I look at the highs and lows of the Game Boy library, one cart at a time. This month, i.e. July, I will be doing one licensed game a week for something I like to call Julicense, so be sure to check those out. You can also check out some Boyo-curious videos where I look at the bootlegs and oddities for the system, as well as some All the Glory videos where I cut out all of my deaths, giving you a long play with none of the faffs but all of the glory. If you liked the videos, then please subscribe and encourage others you think may be interested to do so. And until next week, Game Boys and Girls, where I'll be back with another licensed selection based off one of your recommendations. Game on.